that's where if you want to do something that's just a non-standard, non-automatic thing with dates. Again, you do have the ability to just simply drag select them and make a group of them, but because you can have thousands of dates in there, you wouldn't want to by hand group these into days and months and years. On the grouping, if you choose just one single date, you can choose just one date that's down below the date field, or you can choose the field itself and hit the group button. That allows you to do a much more sophisticated kind of date grouping. So you can put in a start for the date range that you want. Let's say we want to start with just the ones that are in 1997 and that run up through February 2nd of 2002. We can do that by putting in a date like that. So this is, let's do 1/1/1997 up to February 2nd, 2002. Actually, why don't we do February 1st, 2002. And I'll summarize these by days, months, and years. And remember, what I'm doing is I'm working with the Create On field, and because it's blue, that's the account level. So this is the date the account was created in Goldmine. And now the grouping that I'm seeing is I've got all the ones that are earlier than my start date, because we did this as a date range. The ones later than my start date are shown here as individual ones, so individual dates created. But they're also grouped by years and months, because that's how the dialog, I'll pull up the dialog again, that's how the dialog had them going. So everything that's before February 1st, 2002, but after 1/1/97 shows as individuals. The ones that are before that are all grouped into a single bucket. There's also an item for the ones after February 1st, 2002 down here, but you don't see it because there isn't real data for it. So now I've got both my on date, in other words, the date that the sale happened, grouped, and I have the create on date, the date that the record was added into the database, grouped by years and months. And while this may look like a bit of a mess here, you can quickly turn this into something that's really quite an interesting report. Namely, something that gives you an idea of how long do we have people in our database before we actually make sales to them, and how do those how do they sort of spread out over time. So here's an example. Now I did a date grouping on here where I said the ones before 1st of 1997 I didn't care about, so first thing I'm going to do is just turn those off. And then I'm going to simplify it further by saying I don't really care about the individual days. What I really care about is what's the year and month that we entered them into the database, and then the second question is when did they actually buy something from us. And again, I don't care about the individual, the count of the records. I really care about the dollar amount, so I'm just going to leave the dollar amounts in here, so I'll turn off the things that are not dollars in my data area. And that gives me columns to work with. And so let's see, open these up so I just get a few more. Okay, so by year of when the sale happened, here's when the records were added into the database. Maybe I'll take the months out of there and give me an even simpler view here. So in other words, and I can change these labels here when I want to. So this is year entered into Goldmine, and this is year of sale. And then I'll use this little handy thing to show us what we've got. So, in other words, of the ones that were entered in 1997, we had that much sold in the year 2004, but none sold in 2007. Of the ones entered in 1998, 19,000 of them bought, so we've got a very long sales cycle here, a 6-year sales cycle on these. And, in your own case, it'll be whatever your data say, but so these have been in the database since 1998. That many bought in 2004. This many bought in 2007. And if we were working with a real database here instead of just a demo database, you'd see a nice smooth progression from year to year this way and from year to year that way, and get a much better idea of your sales cycle. Now, if you have shorter month-long sales cycles instead of year-long sales cycles, you would probably want to have month by month. And let's see, let's get the on-month field going across here. And that would give you a little bit more, a finer picture. Okay, so for the ones added in March of 1998, here's when the actual sales fell for them. Now, what I did was, that was a grouping against the date they were entered into the database. Another one, as I mentioned, was, I think I pulled in the field for the date the forecasted sale record was created. Did I include that or not? created on. So I actually do have another date to work with. So this same concept, which would actually make a little bit more sense in doing a sales funnel analysis,